Okay, this time we'll call the meeting of December 1st, 2014 back to order. Councilmember Friend, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Present.
Councilmember Friend.
Here.
Mayor Velazquez.
Here.
Councilmember Valdivia.
Here.
Councilmember Gomez.
Here.
City Manager Rivera.
Present.
City Attorney Sullivan.
Here.
Chief of Police Westrick.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Verification agenda posting.
The agenda for the City Council's regular meeting of December 1st, 2014 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on November 25th, 2014 at 9:45 a.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you. City Attorney, do you have anything to report out?
Yes, the evaluation of the city manager was discussed. This is a mid-year since his contract was formalized this past summer. The criteria was discussed by the council. You agreed on a form that you would be using. The city manager will be individually evaluated by each council person. The results sent to a councilman friend who will will collate these, share the results with you, and an ad hoc committee of you and councilman friend will meet with the city manager to discuss the council's evaluation.
Okay, thank you very much. Item A, consent resolution. Are there any items that the council would like to pull?
I disagree. Mr. Mayor, I need to abstain from item A6.
Okay.
A6.
I'm sorry, which?
A6.
Thank you.
I'd like to pull A5.
A4.
A4, A5, and A6. Do we have any from the public? Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent calendar A1, A2, and A3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, 5-0 vote. Item A4.
Good evening, council members. Item A4 is accepting a grant of $102,000 and then also doing a supplemental appropriation of $140,000 in matching funds in order to purchase about $240,000 worth of playgrounds for 3 parks that have issues. Back in 2007, I believe, was when the Park Hill Playground was removed due to safety deficiencies. It didn't meet current laws and it was pulled out. Nothing was put back in its place. We have the dog park out at the airport that has a park component to it outside the dog area that has no playground. And we also have some issues at Las Brisas Neighborhood Park where vandals have destroyed a slide that's 20 years old. We cannot replace the slide. We cannot order the slide. It's actually illegal under state law for us to modify the play structure in any other way but to put a slide back on it. So we have an issue. And I really don't want to pull another playground out of a park and have nothing. So with that, going through some research on playgrounds, we discovered that Game Time Company was offering a grant. We applied on the last day at the last hour to get the grants, and we were informed that we did qualify and that they were willing to go ahead with the project. So before you is the supplemental appropriation. The money is coming out of development impact fees, so park improvement funds. It is not coming from the general fund. Just so you know, we do need to deal with this tomorrow. So if you say no or you pull it, the grant's gone till next year.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Is that for all 3 parks?
Yes,
So it's all or nothing?
yes.
Okay. Are there any other grants for any other playgrounds available? Have you-
This grant comes around annually at the Thanksgiving time period. I kind of knew about it from years ago when I was a park ranger. I just happened to find it was going on the last day. We can be more prepared for it next year. There are 2 other playgrounds that are going to need attention, and we should probably start that attention immediately so we can go through the process of getting neighborhood input, et cetera. And those playgrounds are at Sarah Vista School and Calveras Park. Both of those playgrounds are about 18 years old, and the school district is wishing to have them replaced, and they need to be replaced.
And
there-
what, excuse me, I'm so
Councilman.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
What other type of input did you get from the Las Brisas development?
Unfortunately, due to the time, there was no input. I did get input from the police chief due to the vandal issues that we're having out at that park. The park that it's the playground structure that's identified to go in there doesn't have any hiding spots on it. It's open, it's see-through. The police are gonna be able to see all sides of the park, any direction they come. Currently, what's there is kind of a fort-type playground, so people can get up in the fort and hide if there's not a real good lighting or search conducted to find them, which is part of the problem.
And what about Park Hill with the safety enforcement? That is a high issue of crime. They're not, it's not a situation of build it, they will come.
Actually, I would disagree. On Park Hill, if we can put an appropriate playground up there to make it a draw for the citizens of the city to go back up there and use the facilities. The previous playground was famous. The clown playground all across the city, and people used to go up there and use the park. Once all that was removed, you left the park to the people that go up there and do the not-so-nice things. If we can put the facilities in there, put the effort back in there, turn it back into a nice thing, the families will come back up there, and the people that are looking for privacy will go somewhere else.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Friend?
No, she asked the same question I was gonna ask about the Las Brisas. I figured that it was pretty short time frame that you wouldn't have time, but I know they were pretty vocal about wanting something done. This is
The second playground.
they weren't concerned with the type of slide, they were just trying to get the repair at work, so.
The new playground does have a slide. Like, actually, a pretty cool slide.
If I could also,
Council-
oh, sorry.
Councilmember Valdivia?
No, I'm fine.
Councilmember Gomez?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you to Mike for getting on top of that and applying for this grant. I know that, I know it was, very important. I'm glad that we're looking at Las Brisas Park because Karen Percival and their group from the Neighborhood Watch have been very active. They're very organized, and when we have a group like that in the community, we just need to make sure that we take the time to listen to their concerns and what's going to impact that neighborhood. Because to be completely honest with you, yes, those parks are open to anybody in the city of Hollister. They're open to, anybody to go there. But those parks are mainly going to be used by that community, just like I use my park in my neighborhood. So I know that, or I'm sure that they appreciate that. The slide was a big concern to them from the emails that I received from that group. But these matching funds are excellent. So we do appreciate the work that you did to get this matching grant. So thank you.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm looking at it differently. We need to improve our parks. There's no question there. I've been visiting all the parks. Las Brisas is a park that we need to replace the equipment. But when I looked online at equipment costs, different places, there's several grants. And these grants are take it right now or you don't get it. So I did some more research on that grant. And realistically, 2 of the playground equipment's the same price all year. What they do is up-price one of those playgrounds so then they come back and give you a discount or a grant. I think we're better off taking some time, talking to the neighborhoods, make sure we're putting in what they want, especially at Park Hill. If we're going to do something good there or great, like the playground that was proposed there was $160,000. I think we should step back, see what we can bring in that has handicap, special needs ability for the kids that need it, or if that's not the location, we should be looking at a location that makes more sense. We can take, what I'm trying to say, we can take $140,000 right now, we can fix Las Brisas, we can fix Calaveras, we can fix several parks for that money. But I think what we should be doing is going back to those neighborhoods and asking what they really want that fits their community. Because what we're gonna do here is buy something because somebody's telling us they're giving us a grant. It's not really a grant, it's overpriced, one item's overpriced, and if you pay us today, you get the discount. Every company has the same thing. I saw another one that had the deal, if you bought it by December 5th, they'd give you the same playground. These other two playground sets are the same price all year long. So I think we're better off asking the community what they really want in their park. Is it a slide? Is it swings? What is it that makes their neighborhood happy? So I think we're better off backing up a little bit here so we do it right rather than rushing into something here. Because those grants are there. All the companies offer them. And I think I'd just rather take the time to do it right. Especially we can do something like Salinas did with Tatum's Garden. That's an incredible playground that community came together and really did something special for their special needs kids. Do we have speakers?
Yes, Karen Percival?
Good evening. I am Karen Percival of the Nez Perce Neighborhood Watch, and many of you have received my emails. And I'm considering, as I stand here, everything that was said. And it is true that our parks must be addressed. Parks are the center of our communities. It's where families go to recreate and have their family celebrations, and kids go to play and grow up and be healthy. The question tonight is, do we take the grant or do we wait and put more time into it? The last thing I want to see and my group wants to see is that our playground is torn out and not replaced. That is unacceptable. I don't have an answer for you. I'm torn. I want that equipment quickly because you can't have a broken slide and have kids getting hurt, but we do want it done right. So right now, if it makes no difference in price, I would say, especially since all the parks are tied together, it's probably better to wait, talk with the communities, see what they want, make each park special so that the kids will want to go, will want to play, and will love those places for many years and decades to come. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any other speaker cards?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chair, what I would say is we're still looking to allocate $140,000 towards this. The only difference would be not going after that grant. I'll give you an example. The playground set that we're talking about at that park, Las Brisas, is $27,000. The other playground equipment for the airport is $11,500. The expensive one was the one up at Park Hill that I told you was $150 plus the discount they were giving. That's what brought it down. So if we looked at $140,000, we can fix these parks plus several others as we make plans on which one would be the one that we have for special needs kids or handicapped kids, so we do it right. And I'd really rather go back and talk to the neighborhood and see what they really want. Every neighborhood's different. I just think we're better off going with the $140,000, accepting that tonight, and then talk to the neighbors in different neighborhoods. Would that work also?
I think it would be better if I brought back a separate item, just so you do the appropriation so it's cleaner. Because the way it's written, it's together. So I think it'd be better if next meeting I just brought back the appropriation for playgrounds.
So what I would suggest then is we do talk to the different groups out there, including Calaveras Park that's in desperate need of replacement. So we budget for that now, have them give their input on what that equipment they want to see at their park. And again, we could do 2 times the amount of parks, probably 6 parks, for the same amount of dollars here, if we step back and do it that way. That work? Do you want to table this for a future date? Would that work for you then?
That's your folks' call.
I mean, we can do, so the public understands, this is not something that has to go on for a long time. We can keep moving rather quickly on these, and I'd like to see the effort made into,
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. I don't have a problem with this. Other than what you're saying, I really don't have any information on what the cost of any of this playground equipment is. So, it's hard to make a decision here when we don't have anything before us. So that information would be good to have now. Now, if the Nez Perce Neighborhood Association, or excuse me, the Neighborhood Watch Group is fine with delaying this action and continuing to work with our Parks Department, and they're okay with another delay, then I'm okay with it too. I just don't want to be bombarded with concerns about the park if we're requesting a delay here today. So if we're requesting a delay, I would also request a delay in emails from folks about their concerns about the park. So if we're okay with that, if we're okay with working with the Neighborhood Watch Group, park staff, the mayor has been heavily involved, and we could find common ground and equipment that's good for the community, I'm totally supportive of that. So I don't have a problem with that. And I would agree with staff, we need to come back with something specific. I'm not going to approve anything here today other than what's written in here. If it's not written in here, we need to come back with something more precise. And I would really like to see the big clown back up on Park Hill. If you could get the big clown back up.
Got any pictures
Nobody
of it?
remembers the big clown? No?
Does anybody have any pictures of it? I'll
I'm
do
not
what I
that
can.
old.
Councilmember Valdivia.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. In delaying, in delaying this, would it affect the grant in terms, has the grant already been approved?
The grant was, well, you folks accepted, the grant is approved.
Okay, it's approved.
If this
So
action
will
does
it,
not
will it
go,
affect you get receiving the grant because it looks
we will
like,
not get the grant.
pardon me?
If this does not go tonight, we will not get the grant. This one.
Oh.
Doesn't mean we can't apply for another one.
But let's be clear, I think there's some confusion going on. The playground for the park, Los Brises, the cost is $27,870 all year long. The playground for the airport is $11,598 all year long. The other playground was $150,000. That is the one they're saying they're going to give a grant on. But those grants are offered all year long. I think it's more of a promotional hook you in to buy now, because time is of the essence. We can buy this other equipment all year long at the same price. I personally feel they probably overpriced that other playground to get you hooked into this. We gave you a grant to offset some of the costs.
I have no evidence of that.
Well, what I'm saying is there's a lot of playgrounds out there, a lot of good equipment. And I think if we can talk to the neighborhoods and make sure it's what they want, they're going to be much happier. And along with some of this, we have to remember we have to do some improvements, some lighting improvements here and there. So it's important to do it right.
You will not find an argument for me about that.
Councilmember Friend, did you?
Well, I understand where you're coming from. I was thinking if we're gonna appropriate $140,000 anyway, why not do this, the deal it is, and use that equipment? We don't have to use that equipment at Park Hill. We can move it over to Sierra Vista or wherever. We can.
There are space considerations. I'm not sure that playground would fit anywhere else but Park Hill.
And let me, if I can jump in on Mike's thing. As a veteran of community input in this city, one of the things that you will find is that everybody wants something a little bit different, which makes it difficult. We spent, I don't know if Robin Pollard is here in the audience or not, but we spent probably over a year putting together the Vista Hill Park Master Plan, for those of you who know. Everything that's involved in the large playground equipment was something that was identified already as a long process of community input for Vista Park Hill. And then looking at it from another perspective, and I understand what everybody's saying, but what I want direction from the council is if we're not going to go through with this, as Victor said, let's give us a little bit of a cushion on how long it takes us to do this with community input, but also what is the community that we're talking about? Are we doing 300-foot notices? Are we doing half-a-mile notices? What are we doing? What outreach does the council expect us to do, the length of time, and what alternatives are we going to be presenting? Again, as Victor kind of just mentioned, he mentioned the clown on Park Hill. I wasn't there, but a kid today is not a kid in 15 years, and needs today are different than needs in 15 years. So that's a little bit of my concern, is that we will go out and we will appease today's community members around the neighborhood park, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best thing in the long term. And that's kind of what I was hoping, that we can get off of first base here, fix our parks, you know, to some extent. And you're absolutely right. There's a ton of things that we need to do out there to make them better. And if we wanted to appropriate more money to do lighting and things like that, I'm all for that, because I think now's the opportune time for us to make those initial steps. So again, I don't know, you know, I think Mike and I, we didn't really get together about how this was going to play out tonight, but I still think it would be my recommendation for us to move forward with this, just because we have had a lot of public input on Vista Park Hill. We do know we have damage at Las Brisas. I believe there's 2 playgrounds at Las Brisas that kind of need to be replaced, right?
Just one.
Well, I thought, where's the other? I mean, I
Well,
thought there were
it's
2
there.
sections, right?
It's there, but the tot lot's okay.
The top, well, and I think one of the things that we did talk about is when we do replace the tot lot, is going out and getting the community sort of input for that second section of Las Brisas. And then, of course, at the dog park, we don't have anything. So having something available out there just made some sense to me. So.
Here's the problem, Councilman Friend. Here's the problem we're having. We know we have an issue right now at Las Brisas. We know we have some issues at Calaveras. We know we have some issues at a few different parks that need to be addressed.
But there
And
are
we're
no
gonna-
safety issues
No, but
at
it's,
those other 2 parks.
what I'm
I just
saying
want
is,
that to
we
be
all
clear.
can agree that new equipment is needed,
Yes.
right? Why would we go ahead and pay an extra $100,000 for?
Because the
this
funds that we're using aren't to
Well,
replace
I
existing
understand.
equipment.
Hang on a second. What I'm saying is, let's make sure we're talking to the community now for the items that we know the community can benefit from right now. Park Hill, I'd like to make sure we're doing something that makes more sense as far as handicapped or special needs, if we choose to go in that direction for Park Hill. If we're gonna do Park Hill special, let's do it right. And it's a great playground, don't get me wrong.
And it's
But we
ADA
do have
accessible.
some other, I'm sorry?
That playgrounds that are identified on all 3 cases are ADA accessible. The
Right.
one in particular at Park Hill, I've never seen such accessibility in all my years of working around
Right.
parks. It actually had load and unload areas for slides, and I've never seen that before.
And that's what I was gonna say, is, I don't know about everybody else on the council, but I've had quite a bit of input from, especially the people around Las Brisas, and that's great. And I think we should pull the trigger and do what we can today. And then I agree with you, that doesn't deplete Fund 7,000. There's still money in there to go and look at these other parks and come up with better solutions out there. But right now, we have a safety issue, and that's what I'm concerned about, is if we hang on for a month, what if that's the month that the kid goes up there and falls through that hole on that slide? Even though it's boarded off, the kids are gonna be kids, and they're gonna climb up there. So I think we should pull the trigger and do this right now.
But we go, in my opinion, we go back to the question of asking the homeowners, is that what they want there? If they've been
That's
so
exactly-
heavily, if they've been so heavily involved, if they can come up and say, we saw the picture, we love that equipment there, we'll take it, we move forward. But maybe it's not exactly what they want. Let's find that out, is what I'm saying. It's not gonna cost us any more money. It will cost us a little more time, but to do it right, that's okay.
But we're also talking about 2 other parks. We're not just talking about one park. And I agree that we need to look at all aspects of it, from the tire stuff that they put on the ground to lighting, to make that Park Hill, especially my concern is that, because, I'm sorry, Mike, I got a kid, and I would not take him up there even with appropriate equipment.
The
knowing
grant
it's
for
not
the
safe.
rubber closes on the 4th of December, so
Sorry.
I got the eye on that one,
Yeah.
and experience with that one.
Yeah, it's just something that really should be done thoughtfully. I would like to see it done thoughtfully for all 3 cases, for maybe hopefully 4 or 5 cases at other parks, we do need to invest in our parks. But,
I agree. There are other
you know,
parks that need work. We
throwing
know.
money up there right now with the crime issue, I go up there for the IT department, and I do not feel comfortable up there.
If I, again, I know that I probably have said too much, but one thing I do need to continue to say is this, is that the funding that is being considered to leverage the grants is coming from a different source from 101. When you replace a typical tot lot in an existing park, you're not allowed to use park impact funds for that. However, we're using park impact funds to do the match because we're expanding the Vista Park Hills playground because there's virtually nothing there. So we're using impact fees for that park to leverage the other funds to replace Las Brisas and create the new and the new one as well. It's also an expansion, the airport park. So if I just also want to be clear is that if we delay, we may lose the ability to use restricted funds to replace equipment. And they will become general fund costs. And that's always been our problem. And if everybody wants to know why it takes 20 years to replace a playground, it's because we generally have other uses of general fund than replacing playgrounds.
True, but with the new building going on in, for example, Calaveras area, 30 new homes were just opened. Those are impact fees. There's impact fees coming from all over, which means to me that the park needs to expand. There's more kids in the area. Done right, we can do this. I'm just pointing out we're better off working with our community than we are telling them what we're going to put in and then hear feedback later. That's not what they wanted. Did you have another card, speaker card? I saw.
No, Mrs. Percival wanted to know if she could speak again.
Since she's heavily involved with the parks in her neighborhood, absolutely.
Oh,
Please come back up.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, oh, she's going to come up? Okay, go ahead.
You know, this is a very complicated decision, and I thought it might be helpful to know that we did receive the photo from the mayor, and we really appreciate you getting the grant. And everyone in my community that responded, I asked for feedback. It was 100% positive. Everyone liked the selected playground, if that helps you make the decision. The only concern they had, they wanted assurance that there would still be swings because we couldn't see any in the photo, and that was very important. And we received assurance that there would still be swings. So everybody was happy with that. And we do understand that we would have some input on the tot lot, and we are content with that. So I hope that helps you make your decision.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Councilmember Valdez?
Yeah, I just want to I just wanted to say, I support the resolution. If funds are available all the time, I agree with Billy. I think we need to move forward so we won't have to use general fund money in the future. Right now, we're going to be able to use other special funds for this project, and then continue to apply for the other parks. I don't know how much, if this is going to be just for one park or 2 parks, but if the funds are going to be available, that's the way I feel.
Okay,
I'd like to make a motion that we approve A4.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Against? No.
No.
Okay, motion passes 3-2. Thank you.
A5.
A5 also.
My question about that is,
Yes, sir.
and I really didn't understand, we're getting $17,000 from Monterey Bay Air Pollution Control District. And then you want a supplemental appropriation for 20,000 more?
No, this one's only additional $1,000 to cover the tax and delivery fees.
Then the other question is, it's for an electric vehicle.
That is correct. It was a grant for a 100% electric vehicle. Currently, we're using a 1992 diesel heavy-duty Chevy pickup truck to drive around the airport and fix runway lights and sprinklers, and it's overkill and not the best for the environment.
How much is it gonna cost to build the electric receptacle for the big vehicle?
It's included.
It comes with the hookup?
That is correct. It's 100% grant, everything's included.
Okay.
We just gotta pay for the taxes.
That answers my question.
Makes it a little better.
The
Any-
only catch is that truck has to be taken out of the fleet and can't be used anymore, which,
Shoot, just
believe
shoot
me, it's dead.
We can drop it from the helicopter there.
That was thought about.
Is there any other questions?
Any other questions from council?
I'd like to make a motion, we approve A5.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
5 by vote. Thank you very much. A6.
I didn't know anybody pulled that, I know
I
Victor
did.
was, oh,
Just so we can talk about
Okay,
what's going on.
This is a MOU. We did, negotiating team met with the Hollister Peace Officers Association, and we feel we negotiated a very good deal, a 3-year term, where most of the other organizations were for 2 years. The major savings will be in the future years when we lower to the lower of our 2 health plans, and we're sharing those savings with peace officers by giving them a 2% raise.
Okay, are there any questions from council? I'd like to say, I think as these issues came up before, I always voted no, but I have to say the police department really did an incredible job last year with their budget, and I'm happy to see what they've done and their willingness to negotiate, so I'm,
And
Proud
they
of you
were
guys.
a pleasure to negotiate with also.
yeah, I was really impressed by their professionalism. Is there a motion?
I need to abstain.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 401 abstain.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's move back. Recognition. We have recognition here. I skipped over for Clay Lee.
Mr. Mayor, we're continuing that to December 15th.
Oh, we are? Okay,
Yeah,
that's why I
sorry.
skipped over it then, huh? I knew there was a reason.
I missed it too, because I'm thinking, oh yeah, the 15th.
Okay. Move forward to item C, public input. This is a time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city council. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda.
Joe Love?
Good evening, council members. I just want to talk a little bit about the past Veterans Day that we had. It was about the best one I've ever been to in my life, you know, and it really made me feel proud to be an American. And the thing is that I didn't figure that we'd have that many people. Boy, did I. But again, you know, I just think that we've done a lot of work on that building, and now we want to start working on the outside to keep it the way it is. And there's some items coming up in the path that's starting to hamper the project going on for me to get things done, which I'll be bringing something up to the council at one of the, to put it on the council's meeting. And I want to see if there's some stuff we can't do to help preserve the outside of our building from our problem people that we have that does not respect the property that it is, and that is a veterans memorial. That memorial is there for the guys who's fought for this country to give us the freedoms that we have. And whenever you ask them to not skateboard on the property and cause damage to that property, some of the the things that is said to me is not what I would call very good education that we've been teaching our kids in school. You know, this is not a playground. This is something that a lot of soldiers has put their lives on the line to keep that property the way it is. Whenever I took over and with the American Legion and Mike Polito took over on the VFW side, we didn't think we was going to have such a headache. We thought that the younger generation would respect what that piece of property is. I don't see that. They're very, very disrespectful of that property. I've asked the chief of police, I've asked Captain Reynoso to give us a hand, and I'm just beating my head up against the wall. There's no way that we can get the children, I consider them as grown-ups because they're either junior high or high school, and they do have an education. And, excuse me, if they cannot read a sign, then our educators are doing something wrong. And there's a sign on the building that says that skateboarding is prohibited on that property. And I don't get it. You know, if somebody kept coming out there and telling me that you're not supposed to be doing that and give them the reason behind it, then I would leave. Sure, I was a troubled kid when I was growing up. I'm not saying I was an angel, but I tell you what, I had a lot more respect for what was the military than I think half the kids in these schools even realize. If you've never been in combat, when you have a child or a kid that's 14, 15 years old with an M16, excuse me, with a machine gun shooting at you, and you begin to think, well, who really is the enemy, you know? And again, when you see all the killings that's going on in Salinas from kids, I mean kids that's 14, 15 years old that should know better. It's not the guns that's killing, it's the kids killing kids, you know, and I need help from you all to make this go away, because that building is damaged every day from skateboarders. We just spent a ton of money fixing up the front end of it. What do? They go out there on their skateboards, they drag the rear of the skateboard to slow down on that brand new concrete we just refinished, already damaged. I don't get it. Is there any way that we can start submitting fines and letting these young people come out there and repair the damage for them doing what they're doing? I'd love to have them come out there and try and get down on their hands and knees and repair the damage that they've done.
Okay, thank you very much. No other speakers? Item D1, Hollister Urban Water. There he is.
Mayor Velasquez and city council members, I will give you a brief report on the ongoing work that we have, and then I'll follow that up by a new set of rules that have been promulgated by the state that will cause us to take another hard look at a constituent of our water. So less salt, that's the project on Fairview Road, is nearing completion. It's in its startup mode. The functional testing of the equipment is about completed, and then the 30-day acceptance test, I think, starts tomorrow, so that the project will be accepted and up and running on January 2nd. The contractor was supposed to have been done by his contract right at the end of November, but because of some delays in the manufacture of equipment that he did not or was not able to control, there's about a 30-day delay. So he's asked for a no-cost time extension. That's Specialty Construction, Inc., and we're going to grant that 30-day no-cost extension. So
The good news is that we're well into startup. The project is working fine, but we have a 30-day delay that in the interests of goodwill and avoiding any further negotiations with this contractor, we have agreed to a no-cost extension of time. It really does not impact any of our operational planning within the community. The second project that you're familiar with is the West Hills project. That's the new treatment plant. And that project design is now completed to the 95% level. And we have the plans and the specification. The city has it set. But we're going to put that on the shelf, awaiting the outcome of the negotiations that we have with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, CDFW, over our favorite critter, the California tiger salamander. As you know, we have that critter throughout our county, and it's been sighted within 1.1 miles of our site. So therefore, we have to purchase or have to create a mitigation approach for its presence. And the approach that we have adopted is to buy credits in a mitigation bank, and we're negotiating the amount of acreage that we have to purchase and the precise bank that we will be purchasing it from. We expect to have that resolved well before the the bid time, but we don't know. We're hoping to go to bid in January, but we don't know until we complete that negotiation. I know that Council members Valdivia, Council member Gomez, and others have watched this with great interest. And the answer is, we don't have an answer just yet, but we're working on it. The last item is, and I've briefed some of you on this issue of chromium-6. Right after the first of this year, about March, the state, it used to be called the Public Health, Department of Public Health. It's now called the Department of Drinking Water and the Environment. Promulgated a new set of rules regarding chromium-6 in our water. And in essence, they created, which was a shock to everyone, a threshold of 10 milligrams per liter. If you have 10 milligrams per liter, you have to do something about the chromium-6. And there's several things that can be done. You can put in wellhead treatment. It's an ion exchange process that is fairly expensive. You can re-examine your wells and try to find the aquifers that are contaminated by the chromium-6 and just draw water from selected zones within your wells. You can drill new wells in an area that hopefully doesn't have chromium-6. All of these things are going to be evaluated as we update the master plan as we go forward. Hollister is, I think its wells range from about 14 milligrams per liter to up closer to 20, maybe 18. So you're well out over the threshold of 10. But we're hopeful that we can find an alternative solution that doesn't involve wellhead treatment. So we'll be coming back to you Bill will bring up the need for a committee from City Council to help guide the team that will go forward with establishing the best solution for chromium-6. We don't want to be doomsayers and say that there is no easy solution, but I think what we've learned in the water business in recent years is it's far better to plan for the worst, hope for the best, and settle for whatever we can negotiate. So I'm open for questions.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Gomez?
No, I don't have any questions.
Councilmember Valdivia?
I just want to take this time to thank Harry for his work. I remember when he was hired to be, to work on the San Bernardino County Water District Association. I just want to thank you for your work, and also it's been a pleasure working with you since this is my last meeting. I take this opportunity to say that, and also with everybody else and the employees working down there. That I know you guys work really hard, and we've really come a long way in the county in terms of our water issues. And also working with the different board members has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And of course, we all appreciate you. You were on our first governance committee, and I think we have come a long way. And if it didn't have dedication from you and others, we wouldn't be this far along. And while we have a crisis every now and then, sometimes it is a tempest in a teapot, and we hope that this one will be. Thank you.
Councilmember Friend?
Harry, on the new Chromium-6 regulation, it came out in July, and according to your report, they want a solution by July of 2015.
Yeah, you have 1 year of testing. You have to test your water at the well, at the source, 4 times. And if you exceed the threshold amount after that period of testing, then you have to be prepared to take action. What we're suggesting is that the action doesn't have to be an immediate purchase of well treatment equipment. That, for example, in 2 years, West Hills will be online and it will not have the Chromium-6 problem. So part of your service area that won't have as much of a problem as it has today. So the new Department of Drinking Water has been very cooperative. If we demonstrate to them that we have a fix in or somewhere in the process of being completed, then they will work with us. What we can't do is say, wait for 2 years and then do nothing.
Is that measurement, the 10
Milligrams per liter?
10 milligrams per liter.
milligrams
Yeah.
per liter, is that in the total water system, or is it per well?
Per well.
Per well.
That we had hoped, having read the law and the rules very carefully, we had hoped previously that we could take care of some of this through blending. We could bring in the West Hills water and blend in the system. But the rule is at the source. Before anybody has access to it, it has to be reduced to 10.
Okay, thank you.
Wow. Councilmember Stevenson?
Is chromium-6, is that part of a natural mineral in the wells as
Yeah,
well?
yes, it is, and it's throughout the county. There are some non-naturally occurring elements, and chromium-6 may be one of them, but in our particular case, it's in the groundwater as a result of our geology, and we are not the only city or county in the state to have a very similar problem. And I should say that there are suits being brought by other agencies. We have no idea whether they will be successful or not, but everybody was shocked at the threshold level of 10.
So, the audience and the people at home are clear, what was the level before the new regulations of 10?
It was measured. It was not measured.
It's not measured.
It was a big number if it was measured. Remember, we explained this to you before, and I know that it's a little bothersome that we can measure things a lot better today than we could 10 years ago. And so all of a sudden, we have problems that we did not imagine.
Is this another way that the state has decided they're going to make money? Is that?
I don't think it's the state, but lobbyists are lobbyists.
So this is why your water costs so much, everyone out there. State makes new laws and we have to pay for it. Are there any speaker cards? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
At this time, let's take a 5-minute break so the students that want to leave can leave. We can sign out. We still have a lot more to go,
How
so
about the council members that want to leave?
you can run too. Okay, this time we'll call the meeting back to order. Let's move forward on item F1.
This is the second reading of the ordinance to amend the fireworks criteria and regulations.
Okay, do we have any speaker cards or?
No.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve F1.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Motion
you.
carries, 5-0 vote. Move forward with F2.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. If I may, give you a brief background on this particular item. As some of you may recall, probably Pauline has the best or most experience with this. Back in the early 90s, 91, 92, the City of Hollister Redevelopment Agency, in conjunction with the San Benito County, applied for and received a grant to administer a revolving loan fund program that was, I should say, is more or less, again, administered by, at that time, the Economic Development Corporation and Cal Coastal, a local financial institution. Over the years, when it was first received, the intent of the funds was to sort of rebuild some of the buildings downtown. For instance, the Martin Building, the Dennehy Building, some of these buildings on 7th and San Benito that were victims of fire and or the earthquake. As those funds were repaid, the second part of it was to have another program called Phase 2, which was to help smaller businesses with smaller business loans, and it was basically intended to be throughout the county. Again, the county was kind of the conduit to the Economic Development Administration at the federal level because they don't generally work directly with cities. Fast forwarding several years, these monies became more and more difficult to lend because interest rates started to come down, and also with all the federal regulations that were generally attached to these monies, construction became very difficult, new construction, because Davis-Bacon rules applied and things of that nature. So again, it became very difficult to lend out this money. In around 2008, 2009, the RLF committee made a couple of loans to some local businesses that defaulted immediately. And well, don't laugh. It's not that funny. Anyway, we sort of tabled the project and the implementation of the funds for a number of years. Last year, we kind of started to have discussions with San Benito County, and they had an employee that worked in our office by the name of CJ Valenzuela, who we sort of started to get him involved in possibly taking over the implementation, because there's a little bit of program administration fee that you're allowed to collect when making these loans. Subsequently, CJ left about a year ago, and so we've been kind of on the search for something new and different. Brett Miller had made contact with the Economic Development Administration to sort of look at our alternatives for expending these dollars. They recommended a group out of Fresno, the Community Development Financial Institution. So the plan is to have our funds transferred to that organization. That organization is then responsible for loaning, the underwriting, and administration through the EDA. But all the loan proceeds need to be spent within San Benito County or City of Hollister. So essentially what we're doing is we're transferring to a new organization. However, all the benefits of the program, as initially stated, will remain with in the county of San Benito. Tonight, with your blessing and the adoption of the resolution, I will be preparing a similar resolution for the county for their December 16th board meeting, because essentially we're co-grantees on this. I'll go back and I'll say the funny part of this story, not the funny part, but the important part of it is I mentioned that we needed the county to obtain these grant funds. So the redevelopment agency at that time committed $199,900. The county committed $100, which made our $200,000 match, which started the program with an initial pool of $500,000. So that $500,000 now has grown to just under $700,000, about $686, I think it is. So that's the money that will now be available through CDFI and to the county of San Benito small businesses. And that money can be used for capital equipment, new construction. Again, Davis-Bacon will always apply because it still retains its federal sort of requirements. So if there's any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. We've had, I should say this, I will also, because I mentioned the defaults and Marty laughed, let me tell you about the success stories. Technova was one that was a phenomenal success story. The Martin, the Dennehy buildings, Premier Cinemas, we had several loans that were very well and did very well for us.
Okay. Do we have speaker cards?
Marty Richmond?
Good evening, Marty Richard from Hollister. I did not laugh because there were no successes. I laughed because he said immediately. They defaulted immediately. He did not say, unfortunately, they eventually defaulted. It was like, sign it, okay, now here's the default papers. Maybe we missed the beat there somewhere. I'm sure they didn't all default
Actually,
immediately.
pretty quickly.
Pretty quick. This is a sad story. I support it because we don't have any choice. This is like the guy up against the wall facing the firing squad, and they ask him if they want his last cigarette, and he says, I don't smoke, but I'll take one, okay? If we don't do this, they're going to take the money away. Is that correct? I believe that's what it says. So since they're going to take the money away, we can't have that happen, so we're going to do it. But my problem is that our history as an organization, as a town is out of sight, out of mind. You know, we get these our history going back a ways is you get an account, it gets buried in there. Either we owe somebody money or they owe us some money or the money's there, and everybody forgets about it. So I would like to see some aggressive, someone put the finger on somebody and say, you're the one for us who's going to, you won't manage the assets because it's going to be in a financial institution, and you won't do anything officially, but we're going to give you the unofficial stamp to promote the use of these funds, and that you know they're available. You're the person who here within the city who's going to go out and try and find a useful, constructive purpose for these funds, and will act as a liaison between the government agency that has to be involved and the private parties, rather than just have kind of a nebulous cloud of somebody will talk about it if they can remember the funds are there, because that's the way we always get, in trouble. That's our history. So I support it, again, because there's very little choice in the matter, but I do hope that in the future, I know it's not on today's agenda, you will decide that someone who's willing to step up, who has something to do with economic development, is willing to do it. It's a little uncomfortable that we have so many economic development problems, and we've got $680,000 that we can't lend to anybody because it's got so many little red tags attached to it that just make it impossible to do. That would be a really, really good, if these were federal funds, that would be a really good subject for our representative, Mr. Farr, and our two senators in the United States. I think they both still have their office there. Dianne Feinstein, Barbara Boxer, and say, look what you're doing to us. Don't make believe you're giving us money when you put so many, and I'll wrap up, so many items on it that makes it impossible to use it for a little outfit like ours. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. No other speakers?
No.
Councilmember Gomez, do you have any questions? Councilmember Valdivia?
Yeah, Billy, I was gonna ask you, oops, turn this on. So this is gonna continue to be a revolving, so folks, money will be coming back in there because they'll be paying it back at a lower rate of interest. So it looks like it will be continuing.
It will always continue, yes.
So maybe it'll grow and grow, and maybe we can use that money for, like, to lend it out so folks can build here, to do some.
Yeah, and as Marty said,
Businesses.
the red tape and the strings that are attached to this money is pretty heavy, and it just takes the right company to want to go through the right process, and can wait to go through the entire process, because it's a very lengthy underwriting process that they need to go through. But yes, when you borrow the money, you are required to make monthly payments back to the fund, and that fund will regenerate itself, and then they'll be able to make new loans.
Are there folks or businesses paying back right now?
No, this is why this is a really opportune time for us, because there's no current loans out there, so there's no real, it's a nice breaking point for us.
Okay, good. That's it.
Councilmember Friend?
Do you think these people could maybe write a grant that says they can lend us money to build our parks?
I'll be honest with you, Brett and I, we tried so hard to figure out how to manipulate the system a little bit to get part of this, and it's just impossible. So that's why we are going ahead and we're recommending that the entire amount be set aside for the initial intended use of the money.
Yeah, let's scratch that from the record.
No, no, it's legit.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yeah. So their sole purpose is to work as an underwriter on these loans, to help the lender go through the process and the paperwork.
Yeah, it's mostly underwriting, which is the key part, and then it's also the administration and the report writing for the Economic Development Administration. There are several things that need to be continually monitored. That's the other part that seems to be a problem for local businesses. They don't necessarily want to give up the information once they get the money. So like I said, there's a ton of strings attached. It's usually related to job employment and numbers and numbers of employees. That's the easy ones, but there's a lot of other things that are a part of the program that sometimes they have a hard time, local businesses have a hard time giving up.
What will they charge for their services, and does it come off of this amount? Will
Yes,
they
it
be
does.
charging us?
Yes, the organization will receive this money through, basically an administration fee, and that administration fee is generally based on the dollar amount of the loan that's being given, and I think it's 5. If I'm not mistaken, it's 5%.
Okay. Are there any outreach efforts to let businesses know that this money is available?
Yeah, generally we
or-
do. We haven't, again, because we haven't had the opportunity and we haven't had the right people in place. But I think kind of writing Marty's coattails here, it would be, we have an economic development page. Once these monies are transferred over to this new organization, we could do local marketing here. It's very similar to what we did for a while with Angel Johnson with the CDBG business monies, is that her business was technically in the valley as well. We just market it locally, and then we give them interested businesses that phone number, or the email address.
What about access? Are they located in Fresno? Would a business owner have to drive all the way to Fresno, or will they have an office here in?
They would not have an office here. They are located in Fresno. But I would say that there's probably very little sort of face-to-face communication, maybe once or twice through the process. And again, if it comes down to that, I'm sure they have representatives that would be able to meet either here in Hollister or at least halfway, maybe in Los Banos or something.
Thank you.
It was easier for Angel because Angel also had businesses dealings like in King City and Salinas, so she would be able to schedule her meetings here in town. We can talk more about who they actually have, what representatives they have at the Fresno office to see if there is a way. They can always use the city office to meet.
Okay, thank you.
So the interest rate on these funds would be at what rate?
It changes. It can never be less than prime, and it's usually between prime plus 3 or 4.
It can be used for purchase of
Capital equipment, expansion, new construction, generally.
So if a person wanted to open a restaurant, they just want to buy the equipment, they could use the money for that?
The kitchen equipment, yes. We tried that a couple of times. There's a ton that goes into it, but yes, that is a reasonable and option for people to do.
And they wouldn't be suffering from the other.
Where it becomes problematic, where we ran into it one time, and it just depends on how they operate, is that, for instance, the installation of some of the kitchen equipment requires construction. And once the EDA's determination generally is that once any construction is involved, the whole thing is under prevailing wage. And that's what's frustrating in some respects, because just buying a kitchen, or just buying a stove and grease traps and things of that nature doesn't necessarily constitute a construction project. You know, we cutting and venting and systems, that was
So
one
if
of the
somebody
issues.
were to have a facility there, it's under construction, but they can't afford the last items, the hood or the equipment,
Mhm.
could they still apply for it, saying this construction's been done, we're just short 30, 40,000 for the equipment?
I don't want to say, because I'm not going to, you already got me in
Off the
trouble
record
for
again.
saying that we were trying to manipulate the system.
I'm just curious on how it works, so.
Yeah, no.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
No problem.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve resolution 2014-211.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, 5-0 vote. Move forward to item F3.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight is the initial discussion on the rally for 2015 and 16. After some discussion with the Hollister Downtown Association, it has been determined that they are looking to have a motorcycle rally on what would be Friday, February, or, sorry. My wife's birthday is February 4th. Okay. Friday, July 3rd, Saturday, July 4th. That two-day event, we've estimated, the city has estimated that the cost for providing the city services is estimated at about $149,000. The contract is essentially the same as it was last year, with two major exceptions. One is all the money, or all $149,000 is due prior to the event taking place. Last year, the city agreed to receiving $50,000 twice, and then the $83,000 was due basically 30 days after the event. This year, the city is requesting that all funds for public safety costs or city expenses is received before the event. And then the second difference essentially is by March 1st, I believe it is, we are requesting that a marketing plan be provided and approved by the city of Hollister, and that marketing plan is due, I think I was right, yeah, March 1st.
March 1st?
Yeah. As I mentioned, all the other terms and conditions are essentially the same as they were last year. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I know that there's a few people here that probably want to speak, or maybe not.
Sorry, we have some speaker cards?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Would you like those now?
Yes.
Joe Love?
Good evening, council. Listening to what Billy had to say about the things, or what they were as last year, I'd like to hear more clarification on what they mean by it's going to be the same as it was last year, because there was some issues with the contract, the way it was worded for the veterans. I just want to know where that's going to play out in the contract. And because if it's going to be the same as it was last year, it's not a good deal for the veterans. Again, if it plays out the same as it did from the previous 2 years. So I just want to see where it lays out. And because I really haven't heard, how it's going to play out. I've heard rumors that the veterans are getting along real well with what's going on. And I don't remember those conversations that we were getting along real well. We just did not meet eye to eye on, what was going to happen. And I still would like to see what that is. That there's some question about it. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Sharice Dyson?
Council, Chief. Sharice Tyson, Johnny's Bar and Grill. Johnny's is gonna do well no matter what rally we have as far as the bar goes, because people are gonna get in line, and so, but my heart is to Hollister. My husband says, why don't you just let it go to sleep, go to bed, don't worry about it, but I can't, because this really is Hollister's reputation. And we had some serious problems last year. In 2013, I was grateful to have Mark on board. He's the one that gave me the idea about the beer garden, which, you know, the city went along with. But he also had the momentum of it coming back, working for him. Now, the next year rolled around, and he, instead of doing more to make it a better rally, he did a lot less. He did the no promotions, no programs, all kinds of things. And my problem with, I love the HDA, I love Brenda. I think she does an awesome job on the street festival and on the, you know, the lights on and all those things, but that's different than a motorcycle rally. And they are totally, the HDA is solely going on Mark Creswell's word of how things go. He is telling them that he lost money, and that is one of the reasons he wants to back it up 2 days, which is going backwards, not going forward. In 2007, when I was with the Hollister Motorcycle Rally Committee and Seth Dalton, we managed to put on a successful rally. Law enforcement bill was $355,000. We also had 30,000 programs that were circulated months before the event. Christy Howe personally went all over the state of California putting them around. We had the Miss Hollister. We had all the biker games. And Seth said he lost about $25,000 that year. But he had a law enforcement bill that was $200,000 more than the one Mark Creswell faced. And he spent, I'm going to say, at least $50,000 more than Mark Creswell spent on marketing. And he has no paperwork to show anybody to back up this I'm losing money thing.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
point of order, if I may? Yeah, I'm confused, I'm sorry. I'm confused. I know that you're talking about the promoter. I thought we were going to be discussing whether
Well,
to
because we have
renew
to-
renew the contract with H.
But I think that her point is
Is
she's
that-
making.
Is
the
that,
promoter
I've
is-
talked to Ray Pierce, and I've talked to the Downtown Association, and the reason I got involved in the first place was talking with Ray Friend and Mayor Ignacio, and we talked about the way things were going, and we didn't like the direction. And I think the reason, this is a late date to be talking about this, period. It's not fair to Mark, it's not fair to the HDA, it's not fair to the city council. But the problem is, they don't want to move off of Mark, and they believe in Mark. But I don't think they believe in the right guy. They're not seeing the paperwork, and they haven't done a rally before. I was on the
Yeah,
rally committee.
I
and
understand
so-
what you're saying, but I understand that we're looking at renewing the contract with Downtown Association. When it comes to whoever applies to be the promoter, that's up to the Downtown Association. We don't get involved in that. We didn't get involved last year. We got involved in approving the Downtown Association become the entity to do the rally. And then they went ahead and, I guess, well, they hired Mark at that time. And so today, and please correct me if I'm looking at this a different way. Today, we're here to decide whether we're going to continue the contract with the Downtown Association.
And my point was, if they are dead determined to stick with Mark, and I think that the city will lose money, and this rally will go downhill, and I would love them to be on board, but they won't move on the Mark situation, and there's just too many red flags, and so my point was, I please wish if they would talk about, look at viable options. There are still viable options. I think you should take some proposals from somebody else and not just go blind.
Well, that's up to them to do that. That's what I was telling the mayor. I'm going to talk to the mayor. In terms of what we're here to discuss and to decide, you know, I don't think we don't need to rush into all this stuff, but I'll make my other comments after she finishes, you know. But I want to make sure that we're on the same plate, you know, that we're here to
I think-
look and see about contracting with Downtown Association and not looking to see which promoter is going to
I
be
think
coming
that
in.
what she's voicing is her concerns for the rally in general and the direction it's going.
Yeah,
Because
that
of
was
the person.
my point. If we go with the HDA and they go with Mark, I think we're doomed. I just really think it's a
That's
bad
up
thing,
to-
so.
That would be up to the
Thank you very
Downtown
much.
Association.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Mike Corbin?
Wouldn't it be up to them? Wouldn't it be up to them?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'll talk a little bit about the rally. I agree with the idea that the town has an agreement with the Downtown Hollister Association. I think that's probably a good routing. I also have concerns about the promoter and the marketing. I don't see the motorcycle industry seeing us as sustainable. People ask me if the rally's on for next year. I mean, now, why don't they know that, everybody? Because there's no marketing. They don't even change the website in a whole year. Also in business, at the 10th of the month, you should have all your financial statements for the previous month. Any business person combs over his previous month on the 10th day at the latest. We don't have any idea what that economy is at that HDA or Crestwell. We have no idea if Crestwell even pays his taxes. We don't even know if he lost money or made money. So I think the town, I mean, it's our town, Hollister, our HDA. I think we are entitled to resonance. What is it? Where can it go? And how can we all work together? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Christy Howe.
Evening, Christy Howe, resident in Hollister, longtime supporter of the rally, community activist, I don't know. I wasn't planning to speak tonight. I came in to see what you guys were gonna do with regards to your contract with the HDA. I have, on my own, since 2011, had a website on Facebook called Hollister Rally Revival. It's still very, very vibrant and active. It has over 3,500 followers. When we revived the rally, they requested we kept the page up. Got nothing but positive feedback from all of these people. No one in that group missed having printed rally flyers. When we did it in the past, we had printed rally flyers all over the trash and the landfills and all over town, everywhere. These days, things are different. People go on their computer, on their cell phone. They go to the website, they look what band's playing where, what's where. Those things were all accessible, and everybody that associated with my page was perfectly happy with accessing 21st century ways of dealing with an event. I don't see that that was a problem. There were issues with sponsorship involving the bike show and Miss Hollister contest, the Miss Hollister rally. Those things were set aside in hopes of doing a better job with this year. The first year we had bike games that were seriously restricted because people thought they were naughty. So there were no other groups that wanted to participate last year and try to put on bike games. It's a volunteer situation. It's something that I know that Crestwell and Worldwide Dynamics are doing, working with right now. I also happen to know that Mr. Crestwell was requested to speak in the last 2 months with the Motorcycle Industry Council regarding Hollister's rally and West Coast motorcycle promotion. He gave a positive report and was received in a positive manner and made connections and contacts with other East Coast motorcycle industries that are willing and more real enthused about participating. It takes a while to build the foundation up for these things. We've kicked this rally to the curb twice in the last decade. There's not a plethora of promoters or marketing engineers or the type of people that do what we need done are not out there in big numbers. They also know how much money everybody that's helped us has lost personally. We're not going to be able to round up a new promoter every time local people don't get along with the one that we've currently hired. My understanding is HDA agreed to deal with Crestwell and his organization for 5 years. Things are in the works now and have been in the works since the rally ended last year. These things take a long time. I'm not sure if anybody on staff or any of the people voicing these opinions have taken the time to research Mr. Crestwell's reputation, and standing within the motorcycle industry. I would appreciate it if you'd let your fingers do some Googling. You might have some more information to your,
Okay.
other than what you hear through rumor and innuendo.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I
Any
have no other
speakers?
cards.
Okay. Mr. Richmond?
I didn't mean to hold off till last, I just didn't get my card in. I had it in for F2, then F3. So please, I don't have any comment on the previous speaker, so please accept my apology. I didn't hold off to go last. My idea is, the reason I supported originally giving this to the HDA was to take the politics out of it, and with the idea that when it comes down to it, you don't really have the time for it to manage this in detail. That was the whole purpose. I think we ought to go with this has no reflection on anybody, on any idea of what anyone said. But I think if you're going to let HDA be the manager, then those comments should go to HDA. All those comments, the positive comments, the negative comments, and I think HDA will be, the reason we give it to HDA is so they are under the gun, the financial gun, of having to perform, rather than just opening up the coffers to the city and saying, and I support the rally, you all know that, I've been here year after year saying we ought to get it back, and now we got it back. Rather than us being under the financial thing of saying, well, let's just put the public's money in there. The whole idea of doing the HDA was that they would look at it from a business point of view, because they are under the restraint of, they can't just take a bunch of tax money and say, here, take it away. They've got to perform financially, and therefore it's their baby. Now, if the whole thing's over and we're talking about last year and we're reviewing what happened, it's perfectly appropriate to go over a lot of stuff with HDA, and you should do it the same way you would do it with other contractors who supply services to you, whether it's a Xerox machine or telecommunications. But I don't think the way to do it in advance would not be the way to do it, is to say, you're managing it, we're going to get our money, so therefore, good luck, because we're protected, and you're the guy taking the risk, okay? So that's what I think we ought to do, and that's the way I think you ought to handle it, and I support giving it to HDA, and that's as far as I'm willing to go with it, because I'm not going to be running it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any other speakers? Councilmember Stevenson?
What type of, we've heard concerns from merchants and residents, and these are valid concerns, and a lot of support from the community, but how has HDA addressed these concerns and issues, whether it be the promoter, because it really falls on them, being that they're managing the event, to sign another contract? How are they addressing these complaints?
HCA, do you want to come up and answer questions?
Ray Pierce, president of HDA. I'm not sure I can stand here as long as Marty, but I'll try. If not, I'll just take a mic and sit down.
Go ahead and sit down.
Have a bad back. We'll see how long we can buck it up a little here. I actually have the contract between, well, let's kind of all think.
Go ahead and sit down if that helps you, really.
Let's try to get all on the first page, okay? Because we're kind of past the first page a little bit. I'd like to go back to the table of contents. As far as I know, that the HDA currently has a contract of 2 years for 2015 and 2016, currently in place. Okay, that we are who's going to put on the rally for you. What we're working on is the annual contract. Last year we talked about it, and we said that we would need an annual contract in order to, if different things changed within the city for police pricing and things like that. So that's part of it. So what I did is I did a, Bill, can you do this for me, Bill? I do it myself. If you have an extra.
One thing I want to ask and make sure we're clear on. Currently, we do not have a contract. It was a one-year contract. This would extend it for 2 years.
It's my understanding in the ordinance that you guys give us, resolution number 2013-125, that we actually have in place a contract for 2015 and 2016. The only thing we do not have in place is an annual contract for police and fire protection, the basic event area and stuff like that, if it was to change, the number of days, if that was to change, simple things like that. So if you look to parties number 2, where I highlighted it, Hollister Downtown Association is the organizer of the rally and is an independent contractor and not an employee, agent, or an official of the city, which I think was the specific purpose, like Marty said, of us being here and being in place. So if you look through the strike-throughs, basically what I'm doing is I'm acting now as an independent contractor and not as an employee of the city. So the city should not give me such direction to treat me as an employee. And so telling me that the organizers shall obtain official sponsors of the rally, although that's a given, of course we're going to do that. That's not for the city to direct us to do because we are not your employee. Okay? And in the other strike-throughs, provide security services after the rally and close of the rally, whereas food and merchandise vendors are located. Well, there'll be some of that, but what we actually don't want to have as a responsibility is after the rally event is over, we don't want to have to actually enforce the city or pay to enforce the city for you guys after the event's over. So also it says March 1st, each year of the agreement, the organizer shall provide city with marketing and plan and a program for the event. Although it's a really great idea, again, you're directing us like an employee. So all of these directions as an employee, I'd like to have removed. And I'd actually look this as an opening to where we can start negotiations to get this more in line with what we need to do in order to actually move forward to do a rally. So the HDA can do a rally and the city can give us the services, give us the area, give us buildings that we need, and we in turn pay you for that, for those services, for the area, for the building, the alleys, the streets. Now that's really, I feel, why we're here and why we were chosen for this. So you simply are paid for these services just like anyone else would, And, when I go downtown to buy a gallon of milk, pretty much I pay them for the milk, I get the milk, and they don't tell me how to drink it. Don't tell me what to put in it or how to use it. So I think we need to go back over this with Bill and see if we can, straighten out some of these issues and meet again.
So what you're saying, Ray, is you're not willing to sign off on this agreement as it's written?
As it's written, I don't feel that we can. I mean, the indemnification clause, for one thing, should the city be named in any suit or should any claim be brought against it by a suit or otherwise, whether it be groundless or not, arising out of the agreement of this agreement, which is attached to the rally, it simply means that if someone's at the rally, trips off of a curb that actually is maybe too high or too low because the city maintenance is incorrect, we're taking the hit for it. we're taking the liability, responsibility, and we're paying out for benefit of the city. So I think we've got some serious issues that we need to readdress, and I think this is a really good starting point. I don't think that we're done.
I'd personally like to see more items in this contract, not less. To say that you don't believe security services are your responsibility after the rally is closed really is an incredible statement to be making. Because when people break in and start damaging things in the downtown, who's responsible?
Well,
Would
if we
it have
cleared the
happened if
rally like we
was not
should have
there?
cleared the rally, then there won't be that issue.
Well, there's one thing that makes these rallies work, and it's security. When you have the right mix of security, as our chief has done, he's done a very good job at doing this. Before that bill was, as you heard, $300,000+. So there's two ways you can do it. You can pay additional security, or you can pay $350,000. But we need to make sure this city's safe.
Of course.
And that is the responsibility of the promoter, which would be you, as the HDA, would be the responsibility falls on you.
And
Now,
that
we need
goes
to make
without
sure
saying,
we're
Ignacio.
always protecting the city. As far as your comment about somebody tripping on the curb, would they have tripped on that curb if they weren't here for that rally? We are not going to get into a situation here where the city is being held responsible for a party. As I said before, many of times, I'm the biggest supporter of this rally. But if it costs the city a dime, I'm the first one to say no to it. Now, we can do this in a way that makes sense, or we cannot do it or find somebody else to do it. I don't believe this is enough items on this contract. If you're arguing these points, I think it's time we look at another promoter to move forward on this.
Well, you already have
Mr.
us
Mayor.
bound for 2 years, but that's not the problem.
We don't have you-
We're okay and we're secure with the security.
Okay,
We
let-
believe in the safety and the rally. We want to do all of that. What we don't want to do is go totally above and beyond to where it's not viable.
Well, let me point out something one more time. We do not have a contract for 2 more years. We had a contract for 1 year that round. We had a resolution for negotiating a 5-year contract, which we did not do.
Okay, could I have a consensus of the commission or the
I'm sorry,
council to see
Councilmember Gomez
who
had-
believes that we have a 2-year contract in
Councilmember
place
Gomez had
currently?
a question. Councilmember?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, first of all, I'm going to express a couple of concerns, not necessarily directed to Mr. Pierce. So if you want to sit down, Ray, you could go ahead and do so.
Thanks.
There's a microphone there if you want to grab it. First of all, I'm sort of ashamed that we're even discussing this. We're 2 weeks away from swearing in Councilmember-elect Luna, Councilmember-elect Clower. And over the next at least 4 years, they're going to have to deal with this issue. So we're making a decision here with 2 board members, so, you know, I know that I have the utmost respect for Councilmember Stevenson for stepping up, and obviously Councilmember Valdivia for being up here 16 years. But we're making a decision that's going to impact what they want to see in the future of the city of Hollister, these 2 individuals here. So I think it's pretty embarrassing that we're actually even talking about this today when we could have just waited 2 weeks. Number 2, I want to state my full confidence in the Hollister Downtown Association. There's comments that were made by a few individuals up here regarding the rally promoter. First of all, you're barking up the wrong tree, because your problem with the management of the rally, your problem with the event coordinator is with the promoter. It's not with the city council. So I don't even know why anybody's even bringing up any management issues regarding the rally. I didn't run for city council to be an event coordinator. If that was the case, then I would have just submitted an application to Party City and sold nice little fluffy things to party goers. I don't believe in micromanaging this event either. I have no desire at all to manage this event. If others up here feel any differently, then go ahead. But you won't have my support. And if you try to come up here and try to manage the rally yourself, I'll be the first one to advocate to cancel the rally. So I want folks to know, especially the Hollister Downtown Association, They're a branch, or I consider them an arm of the city of Hollister. They do things in the downtown area for our community at a fraction of the cost that it would cost us, the city council, to get those things done. And that goes for this event as well. They hold multiple other events in the downtown area. They do a great job. And here we are, personally, I think, offending them by even talking about this. Now, I don't know, I guess I have to look back at the minutes of what was approved or not. I was under the impression that we were gonna work with the Hollister Downtown Association for a minimum of 5 years on the rally.
Exactly.
That's what I thought. So unless I see otherwise, then the Hollister Downtown Association will be the organization that will have oversight of the rally for the next few years. And if they continue to do a good job, which I think they did a good job, the rallies, like I said before, the rally's not for me. I don't come down to the rally. I could care less about the rally, to be completely honest with you. I don't ride a bike. I rather see street bikes in downtown Hollister than Harleys. Sorry if that offends anybody, but I think it brings a different crowd. I'm not proud that people recognize us as the biker capital of the world or the nation or whatever. I think we could do a lot better than that. Anyway, I hope that the Hollister Downtown Association continues their partnership with the city of Hollister, and I do want to express my sincere apologies to the organization if they feel offended in any way, because I myself do appreciate the partnership that we have with the board, with Brenda and her staff, and Ray as well. Your work, you're doing this as a volunteer. You're out here trying to encourage economic activity in the downtown area, and I don't think you're being treated very fairly from my perspective. So I'm open to the board, the HDA board, sitting down with our city council, with our city attorney, with management, to look at these areas of concern that the Hollister Downtown Association has with this contract. I do want to make sure that the Vets Hall issue is addressed. I don't want that to come up again. That needs to be addressed. That way our veterans are served properly. But, you know, there are things in here that don't make sense to me either. You know, organizers shall obtain official sponsors of the rally. Yeah, I want them to do that, but should the city council dictate that they need to do that? I'm not sure I agree with that. You know, patrolling the rally with private security after to make sure merchandise isn't vandalized. I don't want the merchandise to be vandalized, but it should actually be the vendors that should be providing that. It's not a public safety issue. It's a theft issue with the specific vendors, and that's, to me, something separate. And there are, you know, we could continue on looking at this strike-through of issues that I personally have that I think we could work through, to be completely honest with you. You may not get exactly what is up here, not you, Ray, but the board, the HDA board. But I think that this is a wonderful start, and I do appreciate, Billy, you guys working on this. It's a good start. Let's just keep plowing away, and hopefully we could find some common ground, address those issues, come back in a couple of weeks, and put a seal of approval on this, because obviously time's of the essence here, and we need to make sure that we move forward with this rally. We understand the impact, the economic impact it has on our community, and that's probably the main reason why I actually support this rally. I don't attend the rally, like I said before, but I do think it has an economic benefit to our community. So I apologize for the rant, but that's exactly how I feel. Thank you.
Councilmember
Mr.
Valdez.
Mayor, yeah, I think Victor said it all, and I was also under the impression that we had a 5-year contract with Downtown Association, but I guess according to manager, he cleared that up for me that we're going to be here to continue the contract with you, and I also support the contract with the Downtown Association, because in the conversations we had before, that's the way it was gonna be, and also for you, the Downtown Association, to get, let's use the word train on how to do the rally, so that way you guys could take it over after. But, and nothing's perfect, things fall by the wayside. But I also, I don't feel comfortable making a decision here when we have new members who are gonna be coming up. And I think that this should be tabled to the next meeting, so you can look at the contract also and see what can be done there between the attorney and the manager. And also give Councilman Luna and Councilman Clower a chance to give their input. I think that's really important. I'm assuming that they would also want to give their input. But when I spoke earlier, that's why I spoke, because we were here to agree another 1 or 2 years or 1 years with the Downtown Association, not to discuss promoters and all that, because that's between you. And hopefully that you will open that door for the people who are gonna come and give you proposals. I don't know if you have gonna go with the same one or whatever, but out of professional courtesy, I think you need to look at that also. That's my feeling, but wouldn't wanna tell you what to do. But that's where I'm at, and I think that we should table this till the next meeting until all these little things get cleared up.
Is that a motion?
I would like to make that a motion to go ahead and table this to the next meeting, so staff can get together with Ray and the other folks that meet, so they can look at the contract to see what things need to be tweaked, added, or taken off. And then at the next meeting, by that time, we will have our new council folks on board, and they would also be part of this whole decision, which is very important.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, there's a
So now
motion on
that
the
you have
table.
a motion, that shuts off all the discussions, and a couple people up here haven't had a chance to say a word.
No, you can actually speak on
There's a
the,
motion on the table.
Question.
We have to act on the motion.
no, you can actually speak on the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, just for clarification, once there's a motion and a second on the table?
Yes.
It's open for discussion
Yeah, discussion. On the question.
among the council, not from public.
You can always discuss.
Get this question then.
Yeah, I have a little bit to say. We're back here again. I'm just, 4 years ago, some people wanted to rally back, and I took it on to get it back. Got it back, thought it was a great idea for the council to step out of it and have somebody step up to take over the rally, which the HGA stepped up, took it over. And I was under the assumption that the resolution that we passed for them to be the providers of the rally or the runners of the rally for 5 years was, for all intents and purposes, a contract with them. I too have problems with what I see going on in the rally, and I have expressed that to the HDA. And I feel that's all that the council can do, is express to an employee, as Ray puts it, our displeasure as the performance, and give them the opportunity to correct that issue. We're sitting here again, this is the 4th year in a row, we're arguing the same problem. And it just seems like we made a deal with these people, and now, just because we don't like how it's going, we're gonna do away with the deal. And we're only 7 months away from the rally. Nobody's gonna step up and take it over now. The contract that we have before us is purely to make the city whole for the expense that it costs the city to provide the services to do the rally. And that's what we're talking about. I don't understand, I am disappointed in the performance of Mark. I didn't hire Mark. The HDA hired Mark. We told them that. We told them we were unhappy with it. We provided them, thanks to Sharice, 3 other options to give. I believe they've talked to those people. I don't know what the outcome is of that talk. And I don't think the city council should be involved in that talk. I wanted the rally back because I thought it was a good thing for the city. I thought we were missing the opportunity to take advantage of it, and that's why I brought it back, or that's why I put the effort to get it back here. Right now, I'm saying it ain't worth the hassle. Maybe we shouldn't do it. I know there'll be here, there'll be 50,000 people walking the streets looking for a rally, because that's what they're gonna do on the 4th of July. I think it would be a shame for us not to take advantage of that. Do I think that we could have made more money on it? Well, we have to provide them with a lot more things to do than just walk around looking at motorcycles. They'll come, they'll do that, they'll go to Johnny's, they'll go home. Maybe that's all the rally's gonna be, I don't know. But it seems like we talked to the HDA, the HDA came to us and says, tell us what it's gonna cost to run the rally. The chief did an excellent job of estimating what it costs, and I believe he kept right to that line. The bills were paid. As far as the city's bills were paid. That's all we can talk about. If the HDA lost money on it, they need to do some soul searching themselves, in amongst themselves. The city didn't lose any money. A lot of people thought they were gonna make a lot more money on it, and I don't know why they didn't. There's a lot of reasons why, probably because Mark didn't provide with a lot more entertainment for people to stick around longer, I don't know. But that's my concern is, I think the HDA needs to look at other options. But I don't think the city council has another option. We have a contract with them for 5 years. I also am embarrassed, like was said before, that we're still hashing the same thing over. The veterans thing, I think we're gonna solve. I am confident that we're gonna solve the veterans, and they're gonna be treated like they wanna be treated. But before us right now is the fact that we have a contract that obviously the HDA is not too happy with. I think maybe, I agree with Pauline, maybe we should back up a little bit here and make sure this contract, to get the city repaid for what the cost, should be more discussion over it. We asked for the part that you don't like to be put in there, the marketing plan. I don't understand why that's an issue. It seemed to me you'd want a marketing plan too, I don't know. I was not in business, so I don't know that, but it just seems to me like every year, every 6 months, this comes back up to us. I thought we put it to bed, that's why we did the 5-year resolution, if it's not a contract. But I thought it was legal and binding that the council, the 5 people up here voted to get, or 4 of the 5 people voted to let the HDA manage the rally. Personally, I wish there was somebody else as a promoter. I don't get paid by the HDA, so I don't have any input to that. I don't know what else to do. Sheree? Got anything?
Ray,
If I might respond to Councilman Friend.
Go ahead.
Thank you. We do value your input, whether you're an employee of ours or not. You're still a public member and citizen of the community. We have looked and talked to, a couple of other promoters, a proposal from one. One said right off the gate he couldn't handle it and he wouldn't even submit a proposal. Speaker before said something about us being totally locked in. We're totally locked into the Downtown Association's reputation of making this happen as a community member, and the outcome we are looking for is good for the community and as positive a manner as you can get for a biker rally, depending on what that biker rally might be. So we're open. I think we've had a lot of problems with people negotiating on our behalf behind the scenes without our permission and our knowledge, and that's kind of slowed things down quite a bit. So hopefully we can move forward. Part of the reason to remove that marketing plan and all the other elements basically here of direction is to further separate the city from the rally and let HDA, or if it's not us, someone else, just simply pay for the services in the streets and the alleys and put on a really good community rally, whatever that is. So that way we don't have so much government involvement in this, because, you know, that can create a lot of issues, well, as regimes change and elections happen and things like that, and different attitudes. So we feel we put on a successful rally last year. Most people were happy with it, not everyone, because not everyone made as much money as they did back in the day. But this is a new economy and a new day. What we're trying to work towards is sustainability of a good rally that can move forward, that slowly but surely can be a good economic boon to the community as a whole. Now, currently, there's probably restaurants and bars are probably making the lion's share. And part of the long-term idea here is to maybe educate or create business plans for other community businesses or downtown businesses on ways that they might be able to leverage the rally. So there's a lot more to it, and we're working on it. Will it happen tomorrow? Probably not, but we're working toward it. And I don't think that, you know, well, Mark brought the rally back the first year, and everyone, I think, was just euphoric because it happened. It was back. The second year, I think they were expecting it to be 10 times bigger or something. So, and that didn't happen. But I think we just have to keep it out there, try to get the best promoter considering the circumstances, and move forward. But I agree, it's probably HDA's job to do that. And the city has to, and Billy's been a great help. Manager Avera. Sorry about that, Billy. So, you know, it's like we go too far back, you know? So he's been really a great help and an assistance to us. And thank you, Victor, for your time and effort. And thank you, Councilman Friend, for yours. I wasn't able to get to all of you because of the holidays, but I appreciate your input. And we are trying to move towards, I think, everything you're trying to move towards. And hopefully we can pull it off and the town will really greatly benefit.
If I may,
Yes.
Ray, you know, when the city agrees with a contract between the city and you, personally, I'm totally confident that you'll continue to do a good job. And it's your responsibility to select the promoter that you want to work with, or with the existing, like with Mark, whatever, but that's up to you. I don't think that we need to be involved in here, and that piece of it. Our connection is between us and HDA. I just want to tell you that.
I just think, personally being involved so many years and former president of the HDA, I really wanted to see the HDA run this event. I'm concerned, I think Ray expressed some concerns on the direction of the rally. We're already now going to a 2-day event instead of a 3-day event to save money. That's a bad sign of things to come. My concern really is what will happen if the promoter doesn't pay you the money? How are you going to pay the city the money? These are concerns. I'm not asking you to answer that question right now. What I'm saying is for you to think about that in the board.
I can answer it now. It's in the contract that all of it's paid before the rally occurs.
What if he decides he can't afford to pay for that rally before it occurs and it's canceled?
Then there's a drop dead date of March 31st that says that we will cancel and everyone will have to cancel.
Then we're left without a rally.
That's on no matter what promoter we use. That's the terms of the contract so far.
Yeah.
And we were the ones that actually asked for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Those are
not
concerns.
anyone else. We wanted to make sure the city knew that they were paid up front, all of the monies that they were owed ahead of time.
Right. And those are concerns. If that rally is canceled in March or the date, I don't know what the date is, where are we at again as far as the rally? It's just things for your group to really consider who that promoter you're working with is. And can you trust them enough to make sure that contract is fulfilled? Because it would hurt the community if it's canceled for whatever reason. It's just something I think you really need to seriously look at and start making changes.
Understood?
There's a motion on the floor.
The motion, there's a second. All in favor? Go ahead.
It's been a little while. Can we understand what the motion is?
The motion
right
was
now?
to table this item until the new members of the council are all on board.
So they can look at the contract also to see what needs to be
Well, it sounds like,
tweaked.
yeah, there's a little work to be done on the contract.
And also, there were some changes that
Yeah.
had to be agreed upon.
I don't agree with all the changes, but there's some changes that need to be done.
I don't either, and I thank you for bringing that up. These items that are on that contract you're talking about are very important. The waste, these things aren't taken care of. They should be taken care of within the contract or the event anyways. It shouldn't be an issue. So I don't see the concerns of those.
Essentially, well, the problem with it is the fine issue, I mean, that could be abused. If city government decides for some reason they want to can everything right there, all you have to do is come up with sanitary fines 20 times, and you got $2,000 a hit, and now it's untenable because the cost is too high. So, well, hold on. So, really, the striking out was to simply say to the council that this contract is not okay the way it is, and we need to take it back to the table with our council and your council and work towards a better contract that's good for everyone.
I don't think the intention is to come penalize, it's just to make sure it's being done. The past, we've seen trash not being picked up for a few days after the event and did not make the downtown businesses very happy. So I think it's just important that we're all clear that is a major concern. That's why it's there. It's not to penalize anyone.
Understood. And I'm sure we can arrive at something if everyone's moving towards a positive attitude of working together. And I think Billy's got that in him.
Okay.
I mean, Manager Rivera.
There's a motion to table this until a future meeting with the new council members and to have time to discuss the other items on the proposed contract. There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? No. 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. Move forward to item G1. Reports from city council members. Councilmember Gomez.
I didn't have any committee reports.
Councilmember Valdivia.
Yeah, I'll pass, no reports.
Councilmember Friend.
No report.
Councilmember Stevenson.
No reports, sir.
I do not have any reports either. Let's move forward with item G2, informational reports. Councilmember Gomez.
No, I don't have anything to report.
Councilmember Valdivia.
Okay. I just want to say a few words. 16 years. I'm excited. So this is my last meeting. I just want to say a few words of, thanks to, first of all, I'd like to thank my Lord for allowing me to be here. And 16 years is a long haul. It was a long 16 years, but it was a good. I feel that we work with what, we made decisions and work with what we had to work with. There was good times, rough times, but there was also good times and happy times, and I really appreciate that. And I just want to tell the council that I really am going to miss you, and I love working with you, and also other council folks who were here during the term of my my involvement in the city council and the employees also. I really appreciate all the employees, and I have always advocated for the employees that work for the city because they really have hung in there through not only the good times but the hard times that we have been going through. So I just wanted to say that, and I'm not going anywhere far. I just want to let you know that I'll be on the other side of the fence, not on this side of the fence. So I'll be a little more free to advocate. I've always worked for the community, always. And the agency I work for is going to be 40 years in May of 2015, and I'll probably be there for another 4 or 5 years at the most. But I really love doing that. As you all know, I was born and raised here, and my heart goes out to the community, and this is what all this is about, is putting your community at the forefront and making those decisions, and how it's going to affect the community. And I think that we're going to be seeing great things in the future. The two new Councilman Luna and Councilman Clower also, I have total faith that they're going to be also get involved and do a tremendous job in working with you as a team. I just want to say that, and I want to say thank you.
Councilmember Friend?
No, I'm not following that up. I have nothing to say.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Well, I can say 4 months has been a long haul. Felt like Pauline's
We're gonna
16
miss you,
years.
Jay. Yeah.
But it's been an honor serving the city. It's been an eye-opener in this capacity. And there are quite a few director and director heads I have a lot of respect for, and all the multi-roles that they play. And I would also like to thank the council for their patience, and staff for their patience with me and my questions. And just thank you very much for this opportunity, everyone.
Well, I would like to congratulate you and thank you for the stay that you had here. It's hard to jump into something for 4 months and do as well as you did, so thank you very much for making that effort. And Councilmember Valdivia, is it a record of the time that you spent here? I mean, 16 years?
I think so,
How can
yeah.
the community-
I think I'm the longest, Jerry, I'm the longest I've been here. And I rarely missed a meeting, only when I had my surgery, which I had no choice, but I was just dying to come back. But my doctor didn't let me.
And I think we, as a community, can't thank you enough for all you've done and what you continue to do.
Thank you.
in the community.
And I also thank the community. The community has been very good in supporting me, and even our media and everything. I really, I appreciate that.
Well, you've done a great job, and thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Want to thank all those that were involved with the Lights On Parade. Really, I love seeing the crowds out there, even with the rain, the dark skies out there. I think the crowd might have been bigger than ever out there. And thank you for bringing your pony out. It's always good to see the guy out there. So thank you, everyone, for that. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd also like to thank everybody that was involved with Lights On. I didn't realize, I volunteered a little bit in the morning. I didn't realize how long it actually takes to put on that event and how many people are actually involved. So again, thank you to all those folks that do that on an annual basis that I usually just take for granted. This Saturday, we have Breakfast with Santa at Veterans Memorial Hall. So I'm encouraging everybody to get out there and attend that. For me, I want to thank Sherry for stepping up again and helping us for the last 4 months. It was a pleasure having you. You do ask questions, and staff usually can ask nothing more from council people that other than ask questions and make sure that you get the right information when you're up there making some difficult decisions. So again, thank you. And Pauline, we just did some counting again. I've been here, I just celebrated my 20th anniversary last month. I've been, I think, involved with 20 different council members during that length of time, and the one constant was usually you in all of those. I want to thank you for all the support that you've always given me and to all staff, but for me specific, with all the affordable housing, all the number of units that we've actually been directly involved with. It makes that job that much easier when you have advocates in your position, and even the senior housing that we were able to put together. And even though sometimes they took 10, 12 years, getting them done, it was a lot of fun. So I know I will continue to see you, but thank you for all your years of service.
You're welcome.
City Attorney.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Chief.
Just two things. Just a reminder, tomorrow is the last day to turn in your holiday mail for heroes. You turn them at the PD. And at Mars Hill, of course, the Chamber of Commerce. I think myself and Julie together have signed about 2,000 cards ourselves. My daughter signed about 300. And there's many groups and organizations that have just literally signed about just thousands. I'll have a count probably by Thursday. Very, very proud of our community for supporting this very worthy cause. And the second thing is I want to thank Pauline myself for her counsel, for her years of service, but really the most important thing for me is all of her support and frankly, over the last 2 years, mentoring. And she's been just great. She's very connected to the community, specifically with her organization as well, but also just because she's related to a lot of people here as well. She knows everybody, and we've had several talks in her office, and it's, we're actually losing a really important resource in our community, in our council right now. I'm glad that we have the folks that are coming onto our council now, because obviously they're very connected to our community as well. But I personally want to say thank you for your service.
Welcome.
City Clerk?
Thanks. I can just echo David and say that, yeah, I think Pauline is the longest-serving council member, certainly in my almost 30 years. I also would like to thank everyone who worked on and attended the Lights On celebration. Unfortunately, I was out of town. Next year, I will be here. It's the 25th anniversary next year, so that will be very exciting.
Wow.
Lots of people have worked on that. And then December 9th, next Tuesday night, is a special meeting. You will all be seated to take action by adopting the resolution ratifying the certified election results, and then we'll give the oath of office to the new council members and the city treasurer, Cecilia Rios. So
What time will the meeting be?
6:30 will be the meeting. We'll have some coffee and cookies at 6.
Oh, Councilmember Friend?
Don't we also have a Christmas party coming up,
The city holiday party is the 18th, yes.
the 18th? And one comment on the Lights Out parade.
Lights out?
Lights on.
Lights On parade, almost
Sorry.
Lights Out.
He works for PG&E, like he wants lights
I
out.
know.
It's either off or on. I was thankful that we didn't wreck the new parking vehicle.
Oh, I see.
Sorry, it took me a minute to
What
get
is-
that
what
one.
happened?
My wife was behind the wheel.
She's driving on the wrong side of it.
Yeah, that was the scary part, but I did have 2 seatbelts on. Thank you, Chief, for that too.
Thank you very much. Let's move forward with the G3.
Okay, the current regulations for street closures, and specifically San Benito Street, were actually done by me a number of years ago at the request of our insurance JPA. And that was when Caltrans still had San Benito Street as Highway 25. Now, of course, Caltrans no longer has that, and we needed to update our procedures. And in the meantime, Mary Paxton had quite a bit of information, having served on, or is serving on, the HDA Economic Development Promotion Committee. So we worked together and with Christine's input, and came up with some very specific events, and Mary noted that the Portuguese Festa Parade used to be on San Benito Street many years ago, and then Caltrans said that parade was too small and insisted that they move that parade off of San Benito Street. So that's one group that was thrilled beyond thrill to have their parade back on San Benito Street this past May, June, whatever it was. And I think Mary has some other comments for you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm on the Economic Restructuring Committee and the liaison to the Downtown Association Board. And some of the issues Jerry's pointed out that have come up is, I think there's some housekeeping items. We're recommending that there be procedures added for notifications to neighbors
on the side streets when there is going to be a parade. There was a parade this year where that didn't happen, and the Downtown Association in its capacity received a lot of those complaints. Another issue is people are stapling signs onto trees instead of hanging them or placing them some other way. So again, it's a housekeeping procedural recommendation that stapling not be allowed. And also for cleanup after a parade, there's been complaints about that. Ironically, also, we had some feedback, they thought there was too many street closures, which is, we finally have our main street, so. And then there has been some discussion about the farmer's market, and I think that's almost a separate item in itself, and the Downtown Association administers that. They have a market manager. It was very successful from the reports I had at the Downtown Association meetings, a significant increase in vendors and also attendance. I think it was pretty well received, but there's also, it was the first year it was on Main Street, and so naturally, anytime you do something for the first time, there's things to sort out. Some businesses have issues with, especially where there's the food court, with the back of the food court business to the front of their business. So I think I don't know if we want to go as far as having procedures, but I think it's something that we're going to be working on this year, and if need be, then we would be bringing procedures to you. But I think we'd like to see how far we can sort things out without a formal procedure. But we are asking that you give us direction to return with amendments to the procedures for approval for the parades. Is there any questions?
Okay.
Or approve what we've submitted to you.
Right.
At a future date or by consensus tonight?
By consensus tonight.
Is there a consensus from the council?
I don't think there's any argument that we need to take out some of these problems that we have, especially the reference to Caltrans and their approval. There's some other complaints that I heard about too, like the dog issue, the cleanup is not, and a couple of the restaurants were not happy about having the food courts in front of their restaurant. So I think it would be a great idea for us to revisit this and clean it up to do it. And if you need somebody from the council, they're all volunteer to do it.
Mary and I also talked that with regards to the farmer's market, maybe we can work with HDA or get them to work with more of the food vendors so that for instance, the food court could be moved to both ends of the street instead of all together, keeping the certified farmers in the middle. And that food vendors, if they are in front of a restaurant, leave a gap so that people can see the restaurant. And then maybe the restaurant could participate by having some specials on Wednesdays or, do various things.
Some things we've also talked informally about on a staff level is that because it is our main street now, I think the notions a lot of people are interested in is seeing the ability for the eating to move outside. And so perhaps this is an opportunity to try and sort some of those things out with the farmer's market, to approach those restaurants and see what we can do to get them to, at least for the day of the farmer's market, to have some of the eating right there in front of their restaurant.
It's a good idea. Okay, we have your consensus.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item G4, appointment of 2 council members. This is for the Chromium 6.
Yes, Harry asked if he was going to stay all night, and then he asked if he can kind of include it with his Les Salt update, and I said that'd be fine. So actually, you heard what Harry had to say. We'd like to have the council appoint 2 members. I'm expecting that we probably meet pretty regularly for the first 6 months or so, at least until July, probably more at the beginning, just so that we can get the council members up to date as to what the necessary things that we are looking at and go from there. So.
Okay. I'll appoint Councilmember Friend, if you'll join me. Councilmember Gomez travels pretty far, so. and myself.
Unless you want to meet at 10 PM.
I think it would be appropriate to point to two new people, but they're not here yet.
I hear ya. I thought about that too, but maybe we can do it once they're sworn in, we can assign them to the
Well, one of us can
committees.
quit and let somebody else take it.
So who's gonna be in the committee?
Councilmember Friend and I.
Oh, good.
Okay. Item H, I, J, and K, there's no business.
Move for adjournment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 5-0 vote. Thank you.